Okay, focusing on the Premier League, week 7 of the season. Nick Mendola, Liverpool against Manchester City. That's the headline event. Let's get straight into that. What a game at Anfield. I'm going. I just got my credentials in, so I'm going to Anfield
Oh,
this weekend. Cannot wait to be there. It's going to be an incredible atmosphere. Always is when these two square off in recent seasons. That rivalry has just been growing and growing. Man City usually don't do well at Anfield either historically, so usually that creates an even better atmosphere. I think on the day Liverpool fans turn up and think, "Yeah, we're going to win again. This is easy." But this will not be easy, right? I mean, we saw how well Man City played against Chelsea and won, how well they played against PSG, didn't win. This is going to be a tight game, and I just maybe worry for Man City that they've had those three big games, almost the three biggest games of the season in many ways, wedged into a week. How are they going to come out? There hasn't been a lot of rotation in that lineup, has there, this week? So,
no.
what do you think heading into this game? Because this is an absolute beauty of a game in the Premier League.
I think a draw is a win for Man City and a draw is a loss for Liverpool. I
Okay.
really do. We've talked a lot, and I know it's been my narrative, so I apologize, but these head-to-head games are very, very important. It's your chance to affect the title race and affect a direct rival. I think Liverpool looks phenomenal right now. I think Man City looks phenomenal. Again, if you watch that PSG game and the score bug wasn't up in the corner of your screen, and I told you, we're going to take the goals out of this video highlight. And I said, by the way, it finished 4-1 to Man City. You'd be like, okay, yeah, okay, because they were that good. And we've talked about this. And I think Pep is getting over, and he'll get me with this, by the way. I think he's getting over his too much tinkering mentality. We're seeing more Laporte. We're seeing De Bruyne as often as he can put him out there. We're seeing Rodri. Those are three of the best players in the world. Three of the best players in the world. And that's not even accounting for Ruben Diaz, who I honestly think, Joe, he's been better this year than he was last year when we were talking about how good he was. He
Yeah.
might be. Van Dijk is growing back into himself, but it might be between them and Ramos, who we haven't seen in a while, for the best center backs in the world. I mean,
Yeah.
Ruben Diaz is a monster. And I
He's
feel
very
like
good.
because he's on Man City and they spend so much, do we give him short shrift? Do we? I think he's that good. I think he's that
Yeah.
good. I think, yeah, go
He
ahead.
relishes being the captain as well. I mean, I was at Chelsea Man City last weekend. He had the captain's armband on, and he just stood tall and like took on the mantle. And he loves playing the role of leader there. And you're right. I mean, he's key. He's going to have to be really good. The entire Man City defense going to have to be really good to shut down Liverpool because they've been on fire in midweek against Porto. Smashed in, another couple each for Salah and Mane, who've been sensational at the start of the season. And yeah, it has the potential here to be a classic. It has the potential to be a 4-3, a 3-2 that we've seen between these teams in the Premier League and Champions League in recent seasons with Klopp and Guardiola and their different styles of play. It just seems to mesh into always having good games, right? One way or another. It's very rarely a tight, tense tactical battle. It's just we play this way, you play that way. Let's go at it and shake hands afterwards, and the best team wins, which I love, and it's going to be a great atmosphere. One key battle: Jack Grealish, if he does play on the left wing, against we think James Milner playing at right back because Alexander Arnold's injured. I think I think Grealish is into his groove now. I think,
Oh yeah,
as Palaqueta, he gave him a real tough time in the second half, in particular against Chelsea. Could have scored a couple. I fancy him to have a big game, and I think it helps him now that De Bruyne and Foden are back fit, and
Odin.
opponents have other attacking midfielders to worry about, and Grealish can have a bit more space and a bit more time to operate. Whereas earlier in the season, I think a lot of teams were focused on him specifically and kind of just pushed him out in games. But yeah, it's going to be a good one, right? Any other key battles you see in Man City, Liverpool?
That's a loaded question. I feel for some reason, I'm just going to say this out loud. I may turn out to be foolish. For some reason in my head, this is the sort of game. The James Milner of Man City might be Kyle Walker. He's been around a while. I don't remember the last time I said, man, Walker was terrible. He's just become this sort of steady piece, not unlike Milner, less versatile, obviously. Milner, you can play
Yeah,
almost
yeah,
anywhere. But I like Kyle Walker here. I think he's been in every situation on earth. Like
yeah.
if you pick out a club. So he's big. Grealish to me remains when we used to talk about Sane. at the left wing and how Man City would run through him. Grealish is like Sane, but almost on another level. Grealish is due for maybe over the next month, definitely by the festive season, because there are so many games. People are going to recognize why City paid what they did for him.
Yeah, and De Bruyne and Foden, like I said, Bernardo Silva, so many great attacking players, but Liverpool, again, so many great attacking players. So it's going to be a good one. At Anfield, head over to Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com. We'll keep you updated with all the latest news ahead of that game, how to watch it, stream links, team news, injury news. I'll be there at Anfield providing live analysis and reactions. It's going to be a good one, Nick. It's going to be a good one, right? We're going to have all angles covered on that one. And two title contenders colliding. And Chelsea and Man United, I think, will maybe be watching this one and thinking, maybe we aren't as good as we thought we were, because early in the season, Liverpool, Man City have been absolutely exceptional. Focusing on Manchester United, then they play Everton this weekend. What do we think about this one? A weird game to kind of focus on. United. Very weird. Defensive injuries. Easily Everton could go there and cause an upset with a Benitez defensive masterclass, but they've had some problems as well with Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin up top with injuries, but Damari Gray and Townsend seem like incredible pickups for Benitez. So this is not a great game for Manchester United. That's my general thought. Do you agree with that?
I do. I think Richarlison will be interesting to monitor as the season went on, because I was almost proud of him because he played Copa America. He played at the Olympics. He didn't take any time out. He put pressure on every other Premier League player who was taking time off. But I think, that wore down on him.
Yeah.
Rafa Benitez is the sort of manager who gets a result in this spot with those players. I like a lot of what Everton brings. I'm waiting for them. I feel like they have a hump to get over because I love Mason Holgate. I can name any number of players on that team that I think are elite caliber, but they've got to do it. Tottenham was in this situation for a while under Pochettino. While they look good, I think they could beat anyone, but I'm waiting to see them beat anyone. And if Everton were to win this game, I'm there. I'm there with them to think, given the lack of schedule congestion they have, that they can get anything done. Joe, I don't know if you feel that their potential is that high, because I know there's a lot of like 7 out of 10s on there, but there's not a 10 out of 10, right? Michael Keane and Dina's great, and Seamus Coleman, a lot of good players. Can they be great players?
Yeah, the only thing I have with Everton right now is that you say this a lot. Who have they beaten this season?
Yeah.
They've beaten Brighton, who've had a good start. They've beaten Burnley.
They're no seagulls, Joe.
That's right. We'll talk about them shortly. Every week we get the seagull flap coming in. And they've beaten Norwich. They've beaten Southampton. So I'm waiting on Everton. I think the schedule's been kind to Rafa, and it needed to be, given all the abuse he was getting for taking the job in the first place. So he's eased into life quite well at Goodison, a few big wins early in the season, but this would be the biggest. This would be a real statement victory. And for Manchester United, this feels very similar to being at home against Aston Villa, like they were last time.
It does.
And a team that can be dangerous from set pieces and from counter-attacks on the break. And United will have a lot of the ball. And after midweek Champions League, tough game against Villarreal, this is the last thing they want. I think a well-drilled team that they're going to have to take the game to. And yeah, I do smell the whiff of an upset at Old Trafford here, but probably a draw, right? I think that'd be fair enough to say.
Joe, the only argument here for Manchester United is they just got to win and they didn't play well. I mean, even Ronaldo did nothing before that goal. So maybe this is the spot where they got away with a win there and we see a complete performance at the weekend.
Brighton, Arsenal, you just flapped your wings there, the Seagulls. I mean, that's a big game. Both teams in good form. Brighton just finding a way to grind out wins and points. Maybe not playing as well as they did last season, strangely, but just being more clinical now. And Neil Maupay's had a really good start to the season. And Arsenal, said it earlier, for 45 minutes, they turned it on against Tottenham. Absolutely dominated. That front four of Odegaard, Aubameyang, Saka, and Smith Rowe looked really, really good once they got going. Tottenham were really bad as well in that first 45 minutes. So it kind of, evens out and maybe muddies the waters slightly. But what you're looking forward to in that game, that should actually be a really good game for the purists, right?
Oh yeah, that's the one to watch. Guendouzi's not there, so I don't know that it has all the luster that Mopé wants, but he hates Arsenal. I loved watching him in that Palace game. Now, we know it's a non-traditional derby, but I love Selhurst Park. I love the Amex. Both of those teams, I want them both to be very good. But when Mopé scores and he runs right over and he looks at he does everything you're not supposed to do in soccer. Like, we're not supposed to celebrate this. He's pointing, I scored in your building. I scored in your place. And I loved that. I think they have a little bit of swagger. I think they have a little bit of swagger. They will not expect anything other than a result here. And it's the Ben White Derby. I mean, everybody's excited for it. I think this could go in any direction. I wouldn't be surprised if either team blew each other out. By blew each other out, I mean a couple goal win. I wouldn't be surprised by a draw. I think this is the game to circle in a week with Liverpool, Man City. When I say game to circle, I mean the second game to circle.
Yeah, the other game, yeah.
If you're telling me I'm
going to watch Liverpool, Man City,
right? If you tell me I can only watch 2 games this weekend, it's these 2.
That's fair enough. I agree with that, and I think Arsenal. You're almost going to learn more about Arsenal in a game like this than you are in North London derby. They're fired up. They came out flying out the traps. Even though they went 3-0 up, obviously conceded late, and Ramsdale actually had to pull off a few saves late on as well. So it wasn't as one-sided as the scoreline suggested against Tottenham. So I still want to see a bit more from Arsenal. It was a great step in the right direction after some of the recent results and 3 wins on the spin. It's taken some of the pressure off Arteta. Some of the injured players are back. Obviously lost Granit Xhaka, which is a bit of a blow. But I think overall, I kind of fancy Arsenal just to flex their muscles a little bit and say, you know what, we're back. We've got the clinical forwards to finish and the creativity. And we'll go from there. But it's going to be a long old season. And for Brighton, they're looking good. And Arsenal, I think they're looking good as well. Okay, Chelsea, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say Arsenal made it through that entire game without putting on Lacazette and Pepe. And I think that'll probably be the difference. They're fresh for this.
That's true. They can rotate a bit, and they got the luxury of not having midweek action in the Champions League or Europa League, which they've had in recent years. Well, Europa League most so in recent years. Chelsea against Southampton is a game I'm going to focus on. I actually fancy Southampton to maybe nick a draw here. Hear me out. Not just because this is my hometown team, but they actually play better when they don't have the ball and are not expected to take the game to teams. We saw against Wolves last time out, they had a lot of the ball, couldn't create, lost 1-0. Jimenez scored a bit of magic, but they've drawn against Manchester City. They've drawn against West Ham United. They've drawn against Manchester United this season so far. And against Chelsea, they've actually drawn and won their last 2 trips to Stamford Bridge, and they drew at home against Chelsea last time out. And I just think it's a team they match up quite well with. Strangely, the high pressing, Chelsea like to play out from the back. We saw how much they struggled with that against Manchester City. I don't know. Try and prove me wrong here, but I don't think Southampton are going to win. I don't think they've got the goals in the team right now after losing Danny Ings to score a lot. But I do think they can maybe do a number on Chelsea and press them high and make them feel uncomfortable at Stamford Bridge.
I mean, they've drawn the number 2, 4, and 7 teams in the league this year. They haven't had an easy schedule. I can make that argument with you. I'm not, but I can make that argument with you. I think Southampton is, along with Wolves, although they got a big win recently, the 2 teams in this league who can argue, yeah, we're not mid-table, or we're not where we need to be right now, but we're playing well enough to be there. And yeah. I know we talked earlier in the year, is Southampton in the same class as Newcastle, has too much talent to go down, but not enough whatever to be mid-table. And I think Southampton is better. They're a step above that group. Southampton, Palace, and Wolves all feel like which one's finishing 10th, which one's finished 11th, and which one's finishing 12th.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And that's for Chelsea. It's been a tough week for them. Against Manchester City, dominated, lost 1-0, lost away at Juventus in the Champions League, injuries to Mount. Obviously, Pulisic still out, Reece James, and N'Golo Kante will miss this game after a positive COVID-19 test. So again, that's maybe why I'm leading towards a Saints draw, because Chelsea, as good as their squad is, those are 3 or 4 really big players for them missing at the weekend. So it's going to take a lot, I think, for Tuchel to keep them going just before the international break of what's been a really, really busy, heavy week for the Blues. Okay, some other games to keep an eye on this weekend. West Ham United against Brentford, two teams who started the season really well, some fun attacking teams there. Could be 4-4, 5-4, whatever score you want in that game. Burnley against Norwich, two teams searching for the first win. That's a 6-pointer, and we're only at the end of September. I mean, that's absolutely crazy to say, but those two teams really need to get a win on the board. And Spurs against Aston Villa, could easily see Aston Villa going away to Spurs and winning that, just like they did at Manchester United last time out. And Spurs, a lot of problems under Nuno Espirito Santo. You kind of forget that he was way down the pecking order in terms of who was going to get that Tottenham job. Had a great start, but now with Harry Kane coming back in, there's a lot of defensive problems. Midfield looks non-existent. A lot of big problems at Tottenham that we could spend a whole nother show talking about, and we probably will do in the coming weeks and months. But Nick, for now, thanks so much for joining me. Remember, everyone, head over to Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com for all the latest Premier League news, how to watch information, stream links. We'll have you covered with all the recaps, reaction, videos, analysis, and even more from all these games. Also, for me to say is thanks for joining us. Enjoy the games this weekend, and we'll speak to you all very soon indeed.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch highlights all season long, and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend at 7 a.m. Eastern. And for even more content, head over to Peacock, where we've got live games, original series, and a dedicated round-the-clock Premier League channel featuring studio shows, classic matches, and much more.